Hello everyone. In today's video, we will go over formatting and reinstalling Windows 11 on a laptop. Here I have a Lenovo T460s. We will reinstall Windows 11 Pro on this. Right now I have Windows 10 Pro on this. If you look at my setup, I have my front-facing camera recording me. I have the side-facing camera recording the laptop that I am reinstalling Windows on, and the screen is being captured onto my recording laptop here by using the HDMI output. One of the first things to do before you reinstall Windows is to save off your Windows product key. You can run this command that I have on screen to find your Windows product key. You can use this to grab your product key and save it off just in case. You will not need it because most OEM installs of Windows, the product key is actually saved on the Microsoft licensing servers, so that when you reinstall Windows, the next time you connect to the internet, it'll automatically connect with the Microsoft licensing servers and pick up the license. Another thing to note, I have a Windows 10 Pro machine here. Anything Windows 8 or above can be upgraded to Windows 11 as long as the computer meets Windows minimum requirements, which basically amounts to a certain amount of memory. I think it's 1 or 2 gigabytes, and you should have a laptop that is capable of Secure Boot. We will cover that in this video. If you have a Pro version license, when you upgrade, it'll be Windows 11 Pro. If you have a Home version license, when you upgrade, it'll be Windows 11 Home. If you have an Enterprise license, if you reinstall, the Enterprise license will become a Pro license. You will need a USB device, USB flash card for this process. You need at least 8 gigabytes of memory in this flash card. So let's begin. We will open a browser and Google for download Windows 11. And then we will go to the Microsoft site, and from there we will download the Create Windows 11 Installation Media application. This is a small executable. Now that it is downloaded, we will stick in our USB drive and then run this application. Yes. Read through the Microsoft license agreement and accept that. On this next screen, we will leave the default selections because we want Windows 11 for English United States. And then I'm going to use a USB flash drive. I have the drive that I have inserted selected here. And then it starts downloading and making an image of Windows 11 on that USB flash drive. We will pause here and come back when this is done. Alright, that took a really long time, but now we have a flash drive with the Windows installation media on it. For the rest of this exercise, we will leave the flash drive plugged in, but we will restart this computer and go into BIOS. If you do not know how to get into BIOS for your computer, now might be a good time to Google for the BIOS key for your computer. So finish out of that. Close out of everything and restart the computer. So now we go into BIOS. We will quickly go through some of the relevant settings for Windows 11. And note here that I'm channeling the boot display to my HDMI output, which is why the screen on the laptop is blank. Normally, the display that you see on this screen will be what you will see here when you enter BIOS. And you can adjust the amount of memory you give to your video card on here. You might want to optimize your power settings and stuff like that while you do this, because now would be a good time to change BIOS setups and see if anything messes up on your computer. I generally like to make sure a lot of the settings like virtualization, etc. are turned on the computer. So like here, one of the things I do not want to turn on is device guard. Usually it messes up with some programs that you normally use on Windows. But secure boot is what interests us most. And before we go in there, you want to see here, or let's actually do this. So if secure boot is not enabled, then when you go into startup, you have the option to specify UEFI settings for either legacy mode or UEFI only, or both. But we want secure boot enabled. Windows 10 allows secure boot, and Windows 11 requires secure boot. So once that is enabled, you do not have the options for changing any of these UEFI legacy boot settings on the computer anymore. And then we want to go into boot and clear out this Windows boot manager. I want my USB drive as an option because I'm going to be booting from that. And then one other thing you could do is clear all of the boot keys, but you do not want to leave it as completely cleared. You want to restore to factory settings so that the certificates for Windows are available on the computer. We'll clear out all fingerprint data. Clear out the security chip. Secure boot is enabled, and we are good to go. So F10 to save and exit the BIOS. And now when the computer starts again, I'll hit enter to go to that BIOS options screen again. And this time I will choose F12 to choose a temporary startup device. I want to boot from my USB drive. So now we have the Windows installer here. Hit next. We'll hit the install now button. Let's make that the full screen. Accept the Windows license agreement. And then we will choose custom install. If you want to keep your files, you want to choose this option. If you want to completely wipe and reinstall this computer, you want to choose the second option. And here, because I'm completely wiping and reinstalling this computer, I'm going to delete all these partitions. The one thing to note here is Windows always saves up a recovery partition to the extreme end of your hard disk. You can delete this because as long as you have a recovery media, you don't need this recovery partition. So you can delete this and save up this space even if you have an active Windows computer. And then this is the selection. So we are going to be installing Windows on that one drive. And it starts. This process actually proceeds much faster because everything is available locally. But we will pause and resume once most of it is done. Alright, so the install is done and the computer is restarting. And this time, because a Windows entry will be entered on the boot device list as the first boot option, it doesn't boot from our USB, but instead boots into Windows. But there's still a few setup tasks remaining, as we will see. You can probably hear the fan running because of all the processing going on. Alright, that was quick and it is restarting again. Sometimes I wonder if somebody at Windows gets paid to come up with different phrases for keeping a user waiting, like just a moment, getting things ready, please wait, all of that. But here we are. So yes, we are in the United States. US keyboard layout. I don't want to add a second keyboard. I'm going to choose I do not have internet so that I can set up a local account. Continue with limited setup. Enter your username. User. I'm going to enter a fake password. Now these security questions, I don't know the point of these. You can completely put in random things in here and never remember these. I have never had to remember these security questions. So I'm going to give random stuff in here. Especially if you only ever reinstall Windows. Maybe if you use the recovery partition and use the recovery process, maybe you might need this. I don't know. Alright, I like to turn off all the privacy settings so that my data stays with me and does not get sent to anybody. And here we are logged into the newly installed Windows 11 instance on the laptop. So now finally I'm going to connect to the internet so that I can get Windows updates. I have a hidden SSID network, so I will connect. Alright, so we are connected to the internet. So let's go to properties on this PC. Check activation. Windows is active. We didn't have to enter our product key like I said because Microsoft remembers it on Windows activation servers. We will now do Windows update. Remember that if you have a touchscreen device, etc., you will have to do the Windows update before all of that becomes active. Now if you can see there's a lot of updates pending. Alright, Windows update is done. And as a telltale sign, we now have display drivers, so we have multiple displays. So aside from the restart, we are mostly done. We will remove the installation media. And then we will do one last step, which is to give this computer a better name. Properties. Rename this PC. I'm going with that name, but give a name that is to your liking. And it will take effect when you restart the computer. That's it, guys. You now have a freshly reinstalled Windows 11 computer at your disposal. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.